really neat to show you guys.
Let's take a look.
Anyway, the story real quickly is, so Sam Hutton was the guy who worked for Fender building amplifiers 35 years, and Sam had a guitar that he would test the amps out with. And George Fullerton, famous George Fullerton who worked for Leo, one day came in and said, you know, Sam, that guitar that is hanging on a string on a nail is really valuable, and you shouldn't leave it on a string hanging on a nail. And you should in fact put it in your will for your son.
Wow.
So time goes by and Sam passes away, and his son has this guitar. Now at the time, it was about 1990, I think it was about 1998. It's hard to believe now, but very few people knew about really early Esquires or Fenders, you know, Telecasters. I'm talking 1949, 50, 51. The first ones were made of pine, and they don't have a truss rod, so they're really interesting. The only guy that I think there were maybe 5 guys in the country that knew about him. G.E. Smith, the guitar player, was one. And when I bought this guitar, I actually was on the phone with him. He was in L.A. trying to steer me, like, is it a 2-piece body? Like, I thought he kept trying to trick me, but he was trying to make sure that the guitar was right. And it was. It's a really unusual. It's 0009.
Wow.
But it's probably the 6th one made. It's in Nacho's book. There's a wonderful, beautiful book that this guy Nacho put out on the really early Blackguard tellies and broadcasters. But this one is really unique. It doesn't look like much. To me, it looks like a jack. There's actually a letter from George Fullerton. What's cool about this, first of all, when I got it, I was like, wow, I wonder if I should repaint it. But this paint is 1950s, like Studebaker red. And what we figured out, basically, is that Leo used this as a test bed. So the guitar is mainly lap steel parts. So try to picture now, so the first 5 guitars, basically, are Esquires. So they're either red or black, pine body, no truss rod, and Gibson is coming out with the gold top with 2 pickups, right? So Leo's like, we got to do something. So look at this pickup, which is very handmade looking, as you can see, and it's not really in the right space. So this is one of the first, if not the first guitar that had 2 pickups in it. And if you look at the placement of it, it's wrong. But you see the serial number here. Now, it's not really a true way of telling, because they simply had a handful of number plates, so they didn't do it in order at the time. They didn't really care about that kind of stuff, but still, that's a very low plate. But the interesting thing is most of the parts on it were never used on a Telecaster. So a thin pine body, it's actually 2 pieces. There's actually a line through here, you can see, right? Most of the parts on the guitar are, as I said, lap steel parts. Underneath the pickup bottoms are zinc. So this was built for this guitar. It wasn't from a lap steel, but I'm sure the top was. Notice the material that the bridge is. In fact, the tuners look like regular Clousons, but they don't have the hole on the side, so they were never used. The neck is beautiful. Look at the action on it, and there's no truss rod. So what we have heard is that Leo didn't want to do a truss rod, and George Beecham, back in the day in the United States, a lot of the country western guys, the swing guys who were using the first tellies, would play down south, and then they'd make a run up to Vancouver and over through Canada to Toronto. That was a big. Toronto's always been a big scene. Like, it's where the band and Hawkins and all those guys came from. And the problem was they'd be playing down south where it was hot and humid, and then they'd go up to Canada and the guitar started buzzing. Because Leo, the famous story is he took a neck and put it between 2 chairs and stood on it and bounced on it and said, it's not going to break. There's nothing wrong with this. These guys, Leo wasn't a player, had to tell him, look, that That's not the point, you know. It buzzes. It's not right. It's changing. You got to put a goddamn truss rod on it. He didn't want to do it because of the extra expense. So,
is that right?
Yeah. So they put a truss rod in, and what I should know, Will, is, you know, since the computer came out, I've kind of forgotten. Like, I used to keep, like, if you came in here and said, I've got a Strat 920807, I could tell you what year.
Oh yeah.
I rather think about girls and life and stuff, so now you can just go to the computer and look it up. But at one time we had to know this stuff, and I still have them, notebooks full of. I mean, we studied this stuff like we were studying the theory of relativity. It's crazy. So anyhow, it was kind of interesting because, as I said, it doesn't look like much. It really doesn't. Just says Fender on it, and it's mostly lap steel parts. But this.
But it's a piece of history. Huh?
It's a big-time piece of history. Yeah, it's kind of funny, isn't it? Like, to me, I wanted, like, what would impress me if it was a beautiful, you know, broadcaster, Blackguard, you know, with the phenolic fiber. This, to me, looks kind of, looks like a Japanese copy or something you made in your basement. But that's the point. That's what it is. It's something he made in his basement. This was one of the first, you know.
That started the whole thing, or?
Yeah, and let's face it, these are Corvettes. To me, Gibson is so American, but it's very old world in the craftsmanship. I'll give an example. I just sold a White Falcon, a 1958 White Falcon. Beautiful guitar. And what was interesting about it, when I took it apart, when I bought the guitar, the inside of the guitar still had sawdust in it. And my favorite Gretches are from 58, 59 because they have a sound post. So the others never had that. They sound better. And it's because the top and the bottom are connected now. It's kind of a U-shaped piece of wood. Well, what that wood was a packing crate. It was a piece of a packing crate. And the inside of the guitar, although it had been sprayed white, was all just, it looked like when your dad tried to fix the bathroom, put new bathroom walls in and never finished. It looked, the workmanship was like that. Now you look at a Gibson, and you look at a sound post in a Gibson, and that's hand-carved mahogany. So here's a part that no one will ever look at. It's inside the guitar, no one, you could care less, and it's gorgeous. It's beautifully sanded, it's shaped beautifully. It's just a different way. These were made, I'm sorry, not these, but the Gretches were made by, you know, housewives in Brooklyn. You know? That's what makes them cool. I love them. But the construction of them compared to a Gibson was so bad. So Gibson is very old world. This to me is Corvettes. Now the guys from Ferrari hated the Corvettes because they were, you know, fiberglass, but when they put a V8 in them and stuff, they became pretty cool cars. And to me, this is quintessentially an American instrument. I don't see this being made anywhere else in the world. I don't know why anyone would want to. You know?
Okay. Is this guitar for sale, or?
See, this is the conundrum. I don't know. I'm sure Rudy's, I'm sure, like me too. We got into this because we love it so much, right? Now, I'm not out playing every night, so I don't need all these expensive guitars, right? And I don't need to own them, so I have a store. But there's a lot of guitars that I hope nobody buys, and this is one of them. Yes, it's for sale.